What's going on, you guys? Slumpy here. We are here with our first place undefeated at the Salem Regionals. We had 252 people before cap. We had around 256 after. It was 8 rounds of Swiss, top 32. What is your name and what did you play?
Hey, my name is Tristan Bridges and I played pure SwordSoul.
Oh God, yes. So how did you come up with deciding to choose this deck for this event?
So I knew that Despia was going to be really popular at the event, and so because Despia's popularity is going to be really high, I always thought that when I playtested with this deck that it just had a naturally good matchup because you have Chain Ying to banish the Albion and a card on their field, so it prevents follow-up. And the Chain Ying also with Tragedy and Branded Fusion, if they banish to reset it, you can always banish the Branded they set and another card. And you have access to Chi Xiao, and you have access to Long Yun. So because of that and how much popularity was around Despia, I also knew that Nibiru was going to take a hit in popularity-wise. And so for me, I was able to set up like 3 level 8 synchros with the trap card very consistently with like 2 or 3 in hand or 4, and 2 of them being hand traps because you get to draw 2 cards in the combo. So yeah, it was just, for me, it was just a meta call that I play a lot of Despia or trap decks, and I think pure SwordSoul has a really good matchup against those decks.
Nice. So before we get into the deck profile, always we do shoutouts.
Shoutouts to the foundation, of course, Daniel Ramirez Medina, Landon, Darren, my testing group. We probably test a lot about different decks, and without them I wouldn't probably do well. Also shout outs to the 7 Deadly Sins chat. You guys know who you are: Gio, Brian, Paco, Luis, Kevin, Ollie. They also all did really well this weekend, so this is a really good weekend for us. So
that's awesome. Let's go ahead and get into the deck profile.
All right, so I'm playing pure SwordSoul. So I'm gonna start with obvious. I'm gonna do the 3 Ecclesia. I do 3 Moe, and I did 2 Tai. So I notice in a lot of SwordSoul lists, they'll cut a Tai or they'll cut an Ecclesia. But my thing is if like you don't open any of these cards, it's really difficult to like push through boards, right? And so my build is just to like let them build a board and just break it, because I also didn't think Artifact Scythe was that popular this weekend due to Despia being played. And because of that, you're able to let your opponent just build boards. Like you could play against anything as long as they don't scythe you. You could probably break their board, and that was what I thought this weekend, especially Despia, because if you just open a hand of like gas, you can just break through the board through the Branded and red. So I just think you needed to draw these cards to help you push. And I think if you cut down on them to like this, even in 40 cards, you're just not going to see it enough. And so, yeah, that's why I chose to play more copies of it. And I could see the argument for Ecclesia, because, like, obviously drawing multiple of this is actually just, like, the worst thing you can do. But the thing is about Ecclesia is that it's literally an extender to special summon. So it's really good. And also, if you get Token Collector, it's also a tuner. So I always want to see more of this in games 2 and 3 also. So, and it also baits Ash. Then I also played... I almost forgot. 3 Long.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. You have to play 3, in my opinion. It's the best extender. So for Tenyis, I played only 2 Adahara, 2 Vishuda, 3 Ashuna, 1 Shithana. I really liked this ratio. I didn't play Despot 001 just because like it's a brick. Like, in my opinion, like I just want to have as many consistent hands, and like I only bricked 1 time this weekend with this deck, and like even the time I bricked, I still won just because I was able to set myself up to keep playing on the follow-up. So yeah, I just don't want to draw multiples of these, because like I said, if you draw multiples of cards, like of the same cards, your hands are just dead, right? So I just had to cut down on some cards to put in some other powerful spells, and because I play Heavenly Circle, I play Shithana. It's really good too when you use the thing with Monk and you have Baxia and you pop the Monk, you bring back the card you want, and then you Shithana and you get to pop a monster. Really good. That came up a lot this weekend. For my defensive cards, because Despia was really popularized, I wanted to build my deck to beat Despia. So I did 3 Ash, 3 Bell, and then I only did 2 Crow, 2 Veiler. Like I said, like I only had room for 10 defensive cards. after I decided all the main engine cards I wanted to play. And I just decided to play on these to minimize board. I know you'll notice that I'm not playing Nibiru, the Primal Being, and it's because Nibiru is terrible against Espia. And I decided that if I play against those really heavy combo decks that I will lose game one. And I have to just accept that because I'm building my deck to beat the most represented decks in the room. I understand that these are not good against Trap Eldic, but all of these are good against Trap Eldic. Or and then all of these are just really good. And if they don't send Comedy, you can Veiler the Rebellion. And it can put them in a tough predicament if they don't have Branded in red. So yeah, and this also helped just hit Anaconda. A lot of decks still just making DPE. And if you can just Veiler that and then you just have a way to play, it's just over. And DPE is not hard to beat with this deck. So yeah, you have just so many ways to push through DPE. So the spell cards, Pot of Desires says draw 2, and you play like 2s and 3s of everything, so it's just a free card. I only drew it twice this weekend, but it was good. 3 Vessel, 3 Circle. People are asking, well, if you don't want to clog on things, like, why would you play these? And it's because these give me more cards. Vessel's really good into pushing into boards because you get access to 2 Tenyu names when you play this card. And that's a lot, especially in this deck. And then you also get to add a worm, which is great with Long Yun, so you don't really have to pay anything. You're getting a lot of effects off this one card. And then 3 Circle, a lot of people will, same thing, if you don't think Impermanent Veiler being played, why would you play 3 Heavenly Circle? And you're right, like, if there isn't Impermanent Veiler, why would you play more of this card? And it's just because this card gives you a lot of crackback. And by what I mean by that is your follow-up play. After you use it, with, let's say you go Chi Shao to negate something, and then you go, okay, blackout, and then you target your thing, you target the 2 cards, and you play Circle, you get a follow-up, and then if you special, which you're normally going to special Tenyu on the follow-up, you'll be able to search another Tenyu with the Heavenly Circle. Another thing I did a lot this weekend is if Heavenly Circle wasn't used in my combo when I was breaking the board, I would just set Heavenly Circle, pop it, summon back Moyi effect, and then you could use Circle. So it had just a lot of versatility. And yeah. And then finally 3 Emergence, 1 Blackout. Standard. You don't need more. I hardly blacked out anyone this weekend, to be honest. I mostly just used the Long Yun combo where you usually can end with blackout, but sometimes when I'm playing through hand traps, I couldn't. But the Chi Shao with the Long Yun to draw 2 is really, really strong. So, yep.
How many cards made deck with it?
40 cards.
40 cards, nice.
Yep. Nice and easy. We'll go to the extra deck. My tokens. Shaman. 3 Monk. People ask why I use 3 Monk. Your extra deck is actually really impure because I'm not playing Halki Fibrax or Auroradon. My extra deck's actually not tied at all, and I have some flex space like the extra Monk I can play. There's another card in my extra deck I'll show you that I also played that was really clutch this weekend. So, yep, this is really good. It also gives you a longer game, like, because your grind game is not like broken or anything, but the other monks give you more because then you can use the Autoharas, the Shudas, and Vishunas more as the game goes. Yeah, so let's see here. I played Yazi, 2 Baxia, best cards. I didn't summon Yazi once, unfortunate. 2 Chi Shaos, yeah, standard. Draco Berserker. I played Crimson Blader. Yeah, bro, this card was absurd because I would just I Crimson Bladed over an opponent, and then they were like, okay, I drew right over Meezer, and I saw Draco back in the grave, and I'm like, okay. And then they searched Wandering Griffin Rider, and I'm like, okay. And they're like, Griffin Rider, I'm like, no. I'm like, Crimson Blader. I also ran over a Wakero, and then Outlook couldn't play. That was great. So yeah, this card was clutch all weekend. There's a lot of opportunities where I could have Crimson Bladed over like a DPE in defense mode. But yeah, I was in weird game scenarios where I had to just try to kill him, so yeah. So those were really good. Chao Feng, I didn't summon this once, so yep. Probably if there was like other cards I wanted to play, which I don't think there is, I would cut Chao Feng. It'd be the first card I cut for sure. And then I played 3 10s. I played Baron. I played Chingy. Yeah, this card is the best card here because Nibiru was not respected this weekend. You're able to play this card, and when you play this card and you go Moyi, you're gonna draw 2 cards and search blackout, and then so you have like the 10 defensive cards to draw. So you're in a really good position with this card, and plus it interacts with the card that beats your deck the best, Right Over Meteor. It interacts with it really well. You're able to banish the Fateful. You're able to ban, and then not only are you able to banish Fateful, then you can start banishing cards. They start special summoning with their engine, and then you still have the Chi and the Blackout, right? And so that's really, really good. And then you get the cards you draw, and you probably have a lot of crackback. So, yep, and you get to burn them a lot. So, yeah, I did not go into time once, unfortunately. I side deck 3 Nib, 3 Droll. This is for the combo matchups. Matchups with Bright Over Meteor. You just want to play, you know, these are just better than obviously Crow and Bell in those matchups. And so I'd swap them out. Just that I'd keep the same amount of defensive cards. I don't want to take away from my engine. So yeah, I'd side these 6 in. This was Droll is really interesting because a lot of people wouldn't put in Droll, but the thing is in SwordSoul specifically, it minimizes the board so much to where they usually just end on a DP, or usually, and to me that's worth the -1, and that's why I chose to play Droll. Now my spell and back row hate. Really scared of back row decks, so I decided to play these. I don't need Lightning Storm. I realized today I didn't even need it. Like, this could just be another side deck card, but other than that, I'm really happy with the choices I made. I think 6 is just enough in 40. You're always guaranteed to almost see one, I think, in my opinion. And if you don't, you get to go first and you do the draw combo. Like, you'll probably see it. So, yep, these cards were good. And I don't like Cosmic because there's always 2 cards that hit, right? So, like, against Flunderies, they have the Dreaming Town and they have the Field Spell. So you always want to hit both in the standby phase. If you play against Invoked, they have Schism and Meltdown. You want to hit Schism and Meltdown. If they have any of those, then you have to do that. So that's why I just chose on Twin. And if they have another back row, then guess what? You get to hit the other back row instead of Field Spell. So, yep. And then final card is Anti-Spell for So this card is insane. This card's insane. So I would, you know, set up my board and flip Anti-Spell against Branded and get to watch him cry. There's just nothing they can do. The last round of game 2, last round of Swiss, I was able to just, he stops me a little bit, and I was able to just put a Anti-Spell up with a Baron, and that was enough to win the game. So it's really good against Right Over Meteor decks. It's really good against, and especially in your deck when you're able to put up like either the Chang Ying or the Baron or whatever to deal with their back row. They'll never be able to establish any kind of tempo to catch back up to you. So Anti-Spell was just absurd. I only got to resolve it twice, but yeah, it was just game ending.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on going undefeated, all 8-0. Was there any notable matches that you had or anything that like kind of like surprised you, or was just like, you know what, this is what my deck does, like this is how it should be?
Yeah, just my Despia matchups. If I can go into detail about those, it's just with this deck, your deck naturally, like I said, you just naturally play through it, right? Like every Despia, even if they full board you, if you just open 6 engine cards, you'll be able to just combo through them. And if you open with 1 Bell or 1 Crow, you're able to stop the Branded and run. You're definitely just gonna break their board and kill them. Like I said, the Changing, being able to banish the Albi in their follow-up and a card on the field, or like even backseat to shuffle back the Mirror Jades so your field doesn't get popped. It's just, it feels really unfair from at least my perspective, because my Despia matchup is really, really free. And yeah, that's it. I think that's the most notable thing about this deck is just, it just beats those Despia and those back row decks very easily. And I think if people just went back to combo, then this deck wouldn't be good, because those hand traps hurt this deck. And so, yeah, I think it's just a good meta call for the weekend.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations again. What events are we going to see you at coming up next? I know you already got back-to-back regional tops, so
yeah. So
what's next for you?
We got a Portland regional, and then I'm going to go, I think we're going to go to Utah, and then I think, so Utah, Portland, and then those are just regionals, but I think we're going to go to Chicago for the territorial, and then Minnesota and Ontario, and no, Niagara Falls, right?
Yeah.
And Pasadena.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you again for the deck profile.
Anytime.
Shout out to the foundation.
Foundation, baby.
Slumpy Slumping out. Peace.